Since 1929, our third Wednesday of the month, Middletown Luncheon Club provides great food, quality community gathering, and interesting local speakers. Come join us.
The format today, we have 4 candidates for 2 different positions. So we have Pat Iaccino and Brock Falkenberg, who are both running for the County Superintendent of Schools. And then over here we have Susan Krones and Steve Brown, who are both running for our district attorney in Lake County. So they're going to start with an opening statement, and then they're going to end with a closing statement. And afterwards, if you didn't hear your question, it's because we ran out of time, and you're welcome to ask them personally afterwards. So we did a coin toss to see who was going to go first. I even managed to catch the coin the first time. And I'm going to start right here and work my way across. So Mr. Falkenberg is going to start.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming out today and taking a few minutes to make sure you know who to vote for and what some of the issues are in both races. My name's Brock Falkenberg. I am the County Superintendent of Schools. And I've been in Lake County for about 20 years. My family and I moved here about 20 years ago. I have 3 children. They all went through the Lake County public education system, public school system. My wife is a teacher in Lake County. I have 26 years of experience in education, serving as a teacher, a coach, athletic director, and various different administrative positions. I'm running for re-election because I want to continue to serve and support the schools, the districts, and the children of Lake County. I'm proud of what we have accomplished over the last 3.5 years. I am proud of Teach Lake County and our investment back into the Lake County workforce to assure that we have qualified teachers in all of our classrooms. I'm proud of the Bloom Project and our kindergarten readiness efforts and the 24,000 books that we put into our preschool families' hands each year. I am proud of our professional learning networks supporting schools and districts in terms of their continuous improvement. And I would be honored to continue to serve as the County Superintendent of Schools. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Patrick Iaccino, and I am running for County Superintendent of Schools. I come to you with 38 years of service to education. I came to the Lake County in, about 12 years ago, and I spent 11 years as the superintendent of Upper Lake High School District. In my last year there, I was successful in unifying Upper Lake High School District and Upper Lake Elementary School District. First time in 50 years that a unification in this county has taken place. I too have been a teacher. I taught for 9 years. I was an administrator for 29 years and was everything from a dean of students to a superintendent and principal of Upper Lake. I spent 21 years in the Antelope Valley High School District, serving a very large district of about 30,000 students. I ran the largest continuation school in the state of California, about 1,800 students. And the largest high school that I was in charge of was Highland High School, which was about 4,100 students. So a little bit larger. When I came to Lake County and I came to Upper Lake, I had a whopping 400 students. So it was a pleasure to serve Upper Lake for the 11 years that I was there. I have a platform of 5 points. I would really like to see the county office become more of a service provider to districts, to provide more opportunities for students beyond just what they currently get in high school. Career tech ed programs, vocational ed programs. In the state of California, unfortunately, for a number of years, there was a decline because of fiscal issues within the state. I hope that everybody here gets out and votes and encourages people to come out on June 5th and vote. Beth, thank you for having us, and I appreciate your time.
Susan.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Susan Krones, and I am running for the position of District Attorney. I have been in the Lake County District Attorney's office for 25 years as a deputy. I'm a senior deputy there now. Over the years, I've prosecuted a lot of cases. It's too many to count. I've prosecuted lots of cases. I've been trained extensively by the California District Attorneys Association in various types of specific crimes. I've specialized in child sexual assault cases, domestic violence, vehicular homicide cases, to name just a few. And I have prosecuted many. When I was doing the child sexual assault cases, I was instrumental in bringing the first multidisciplinary interview center to Lake County. That's an interview center where children can be interviewed just once in a comfortable and secure location by an trained interviewer, so that they're not, there's not too much stress with, obviously with those cases, there's a lot of stress. So I have extensive experience in prosecuting cases. I also am a U.S. Army veteran. I was in the Army for 7 years. I was a JAG, which is a Judge Advocate General, which is basically an attorney as well. And when I was in JAG, I was a prosecutor for 1 year. I was also a defense attorney representing soldiers who had committed crimes. And I was the chief of the civil division in 7th Corps, Germany, during Operation Desert Storm, Desert Shield. So I have that experience as well, where I did jury trials as well when I was in the military. And I have, as I said, I have extensive experience with how the office runs, and I'm asking for your vote. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Stephen Brown. Thank you for coming out. I am running for also the office of Lake County District Attorney. I am from Lake County, born and raised. I graduated from Kelseyville High School. My family has been in Lake County for 5 generations. After graduating from Kelseyville High School, I attended William Penn University in Iowa on a wrestling scholarship. After graduating from William Penn, I moved back to Lake County and I worked as a bail bondsman while I attended Empire Law School in Santa Rosa at night. After graduating from Empire Law School, I took the bar and passed, and I've been practicing law in Lake County as a private attorney for the last 8 years. In my private practice, I've handled probably every type of case that an attorney can in Lake County, both civil and criminal. With regard to criminal cases, I've handled up to this point probably around 1,500 cases. For the first 3 years that I was practicing law, not only was I in private practice, but I was also one of the attorneys that contracts with the county to provide public defender services representing indigent people charged with crimes when they can't afford to hire their own attorney. During that time, I handled approximately 1,000 criminal cases. I am running because I believe that there are some improvements that need to be made to the office, and I've received a lot of requests from people, in particular in our local law enforcement. I've received the endorsement of the vast majority of police officers and sheriff's deputies, and the endorsement of the Lakeport Police Officers Association. And the types of improvements that I'm hoping to make are generally directed toward making public safety the primary concern, and also restoring what I think is a diminished confidence by crime victims in the criminal justice system. Thank you.
We're going to start with the District Attorney's Office with questions. The first, my name is Linda Dieldarms, and I'm a board member of the Middletown Luncheon Club. The first question is specifically for Mr. Brown. Do you foresee any conflicts of interest giving Dad as a bail bondsman? And if so, what action will be taken?
So for those of you who don't know, my father is a bail bondsman, as I was previously. And I do not believe that there would be a conflict of interest. The district attorney's office handled approximately 4,886 cases. I guess that's not approximate, that's exact. But handled that many cases last year, and my dad did approximately 200 bails, so that's about 4% of the cases that the DA's office sees, so it's a very small amount. Additionally, as a private defense attorney, I have the same ability to effect bail probably more so than a prosecutor, because I have the ability to ask for a bail reduction of my clients or ask if they be released on their own recognizance, and I've done that successfully in hundreds of cases. So I've proven that I'm not going to act on a conflict. I'm concerned about being a successful attorney, just as I would want to be a successful district attorney, and I'm not going to commit career suicide by trying to do someone a favor. And even more so, I did it when I was on the public defender contract, so I wasn't getting paid anymore, but I was still wanting to establish a reputation as a good attorney and not someone who's going to do, side deal favors for somebody and sacrifice my career.
So this is for both of you, and we'll start with you since he was able to go first. Where do you stand on sanctuary cities?
Oh, okay. Well, I will say this, that first of all, I know that there are laws in California that have been passed in regards to sanctuary cities. And just like all laws that have been passed by either the legislature, signed by the governor, and also propositions that have been passed by the people of California, we have to follow those laws. My stand is I'm going to follow the law, and I believe that the resources of law enforcement, this is more of a law enforcement issue, because I believe that the resources of law enforcement need to be handling local cases. We need to have our resources handling local cases, not federal government cases. So I think that I would follow the law as they are in California currently, and basically that's my stand.
Similar, the job of the district attorney is to enforce the laws that exist, whether they agree with them or not, and that is exactly what I plan to do as a district attorney. I'm not running for this position to impose my own personal political beliefs or agenda. As it stands right now in California, whether I like it or not, is a sanctuary state. There are certain offenses, however, that permit and those laws prohibit the state government personnel or people who are employed by the state government from assisting the federal government in locating or deporting individuals. There are exceptions to that, and there are approximately 31 exceptions to that for offenders who commit crimes that are of the most serious type. Those people can be reported, and again, I would follow the law.
How many jury trials have each of you done?
My experience has been with court trials, and I have done between 20 and 30 court trials, and I have established myself as a competent and skilled trial attorney. The types of trials that I have had have been in civil matters. Like I've said, I've handled approximately 1,500 criminal cases, but I have been able to resolve those to my client's satisfaction while preserving their financial resources and avoiding the uncertainty of a trial. And they were pleased with those results. For the court trials that I did in civil cases, those involved complex matters, and in particular in family law matters, it's not just one area of law that you have to be focused on, it's all areas of law: criminal, issues regarding retirement, tax issues, property valuations. And so there's a lot of complex issues that I have a lot of trial experience on, and the trials that I've been in have been predominantly ones that have lasted weeks or even months. So I have spent a lot of time in trial.
I have done over 100 jury trials in my career. I also did the equivalent of jury trials when I was in the military. It's a panel of officers, but it's still presenting a case in front of individuals rather than the judge alone. I have done extensive jury trials. I have done murder cases. I have done child sexual assault cases, domestic violence cases. Again, pretty much any case you can imagine, I've done a jury trial on it, serious and violent felony cases. I think that the important thing here, and this is a big difference between me and my opponent, is that I have the training and the experience in doing jury trials, and doing a jury trial is the bread and butter of prosecutors. And if you don't know how to do a jury trial or don't have that experience, it's hard to tell other prosecutors in the office how they should dispo a case or go to trial on it.
As DA, this question says, as DA, would you have more drug rehab facilities? And I would like to add to that, is that something that you would look to do for people in certain circumstances?
Yes, I actually believe in rehabilitation, and I believe in giving people a chance. But what we do have several rehabilitation programs in Lake County, and for especially drug programs, I would encourage people to go into drug rehab versus going to jail. We also have a veterans program, currently Veterans Court, where we have a lot of military individuals who have committed crimes based on service connection there, and they have drug and alcohol problems. And we allow them to go into a residential rehabilitation programs. So I would seek to expand that to the extent possible, work with community leaders to expand the program to get more money into rehabilitation programs.
As a private attorney, I have represented many people who have drug problems and who commit crimes as a result of their drug problems, and I have assisted them, and that's, I think, predominantly why I've been able to successfully resolve all of the criminal cases that I've handled, is because I have the ability to think outside of the box and come to the DA's office as a defense attorney with different ideas, and ideas that are geared towards not just punishing people, but correcting, their behavior and hopefully changing them for the better. I have assisted many people in getting into rehab programs and different drug and alcohol programs. The problem that I've experienced is that there's a lack of bed space in these programs, so it would be nice to expand them, but I'm not exactly sure what ability the district attorney would have to individually, expand those services. But it would be nice to see that, more space be given, because there are there's a lot of crime and there's a lot of drug problems that resolve around, people being addicted to drugs.
Okay, this is the last question. What is your position on GLBT?
I don't know that it's necessarily relevant to the position of running for district attorney. I am running for district attorney because I think that there are a lot of improvements. One of the improvements that I could see being made is not giving certain people preferential treatment. And in the prosecution of cases, I would ensure that cases are prosecuted fairly, not only aggressively, but fairly, and that they're charged and prosecuted on the merits. I was raised, and I raised my own 3 children to treat every person equally. It doesn't matter what color your skin is, what country you're from, whether or not you're, of low economic status or high economic status. You have to treat people fairly on their character and not based upon, their personal beliefs or what they look like.
I support GLBT individuals, and but I agree that it's not necessarily a district attorney issue. But I can say this, that on my entire career, I treat individuals in court and outside of court with respect, and I treat them all with respect. I've been in court I'm in court all the time, and even in jury trials. I treat the court, obviously, but my colleagues across the aisle, the defense attorneys, as well as the defendants, with respect. And everybody deserves that. I will continue that, and I will treat cases fairly. Nobody's going to get any favoritism from me if they're because of their position in the community, or even if they're friends. So the other thing I'll say is that I've had defendants come up to me after they've been prosecuted and say, I respect you. Even though you prosecuted, sent me to jail, sent me to prison, you did treat me with respect, and I'm proud of that.
Okay, so we're done with the questions from the audience for the DA candidates, and we're going to move to the superintendent of school candidates. And if we have time, then we can open up for general questions if something came up that you have a question. So we will start with Pat. Why do we spend more and more money on schools and have such low student scores? And what can you do to improve the very low results of Lake County students' testing?
Being a superintendent and an administrator and teacher for the number of years, there's always an argument about how much money we spend per student. California ranks almost the lowest state in the union on spending per student. But I think what happens in California a lot of times is when money is finally released to schools, it's released in large amounts, and schools have very short periods of time to determine how that money is spent. And we get caught up sometimes in spending feverishly where we shouldn't be spending money. Right now, we are under a new funding formula in the state of California called LCFF. It's a plan that all districts must incorporate and develop goals and implement those goals. Communities are to be involved in that process, and it's a way that we should actually spend money more wisely. I could go on with this question for about a half hour, but I only get 1 minute, so I'll allow Brock to answer that question now.
Pat had alluded to the fact that California schools are amongst the lowest funded schools in the nation, receiving about half the dollars of some of our East Coast states. However, if we look at some of the long-term statistics in terms of tests that have gone on since the 70s, it shows that California schools and Lake County schools have continuously improved over time. So I think that there is a misnomer out there as we change accountability systems every 10 years or so as to what truly is happening in our schools, and we need to take a long-term, more dedicated look at what's happening throughout education. It's not all about money, but money is certainly a factor in assuring that we have quality programs, diverse programs, and programs that support both career and college readiness in all of our schools.
Why does Lake County have so many school district board members, and why are so many school board members receiving full medical?
The County of Lake has 6 school districts currently. There were 7 school districts when I took office. Pat and I worked together to go through a unification process of one of those school districts. And I think that was a very successful partnership. Prior to that, it had been 50 years since we had gone through a unification. But you're absolutely correct. There are 9,500 students roughly in the County of Lake. That could be one school district, and that could eliminate some administrative costs. Not all of our school board members, if you take a look around the county, do receive full benefits. That is a local decision that each of those district boards make as to what their benefits and what their reimbursement package should be. Isn't that interesting that you as a school board member get to vote on what your reimbursement package is?
As Brock stated, there are currently 6 districts. 5 districts have 5 board members, and Lucerne has a 3-member board. And as Brock said, each district's board chooses whether or not to provide benefits and what that benefit package looks like. I am highly opposed to that issue. It's hard enough trying to maintain health and welfare benefits for teachers and administrative staffs. So what I did in Upper Lake was I had my board approve a resolution that stated that they would never take benefits and be a board member. When we unified the 2 districts, the high school and the elementary district, the elementary board had benefits, and the high school board did not. Currently, that resolution still exists in Upper Lake where no board member will take benefits because I personally believe that that's money that should be spent on students. So it behooves the district to really try to encourage board members not to do that.
So meditation has been shown to improve school performance. Would you consider meditation in school?
I would probably say no to that. The reason being is not that I'm opposed to meditation. Believe me, when you have 4,100 teenagers on a campus, you need to meditate as much as you can. But the reality is, in California, schools are broken down by the number of instructional minutes that you can provide during the course of a school day. At the high school level, it's 64,800 minutes. And the majority of teachers will tell you it's not close to the amount of time that we need to teach what we're required to teach in this state. So, you know, it's just one more thing that you would add that would take away from instructional minutes that you would have to find elsewhere. So it really comes down to using the minutes that you have and using them wisely in all areas in K-12 systems, because they differ. At the elementary level, those minutes vary between K-3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8. They're all different minutes, which is very difficult to do.
So one of the key elements of success is helping students learn to learn. And what that really means is, in terms of focus, is looking at and exploring various different strategies that will assist kids in becoming self-effectuated lifelong learners. So meditation is certainly shown to be one of those possibilities to explore. But I wouldn't limit it to just meditation. I think we as teachers, we as educators, we as administrators need to make sure that we remain focused on assisting kids to become that lifelong learner. And not that I'm saying meditation is good or bad, it's just one strategy of many possible strategies to help kids.
I have a question as a result of the school boards being able to put their benefit packages together. And it's a general question. Is that a state law that that's how that works? How did that become the way it worked?
You know, the development of school boards goes back historically quite a ways. And there is at one time in this county, there were over 60 different school districts that existed. And part of that had to do with transportation issues. So we still see an element of that in our school districts today, a sense of pride in our schools and a connection to the communities that each of those schools have. If we look at Middletown here, Middletown High School becomes a focal point or a center point of the community. And as a result of that, I think there's a great desire for that Board of Education for Middletown to maintain their own independence. In terms of school boards and setting their own reimbursement, that has historically been something that has been in place. I think statewide that has been cleaned up significantly. I do not see in Lake County abuses, meaning excess reimbursement compared to other parts of the state. However, there is one mechanism to speak to how they respond, and they are elected officials as well. So there is a mechanism to utilize if you're unhappy with the reimbursement that our boards are seeking.
As the DAs had spoken earlier about laws in the state of California, if you're ever awake at night and you really need a way to try to find out how you can get some sleep, I encourage you to read the education code in this state. There are hundreds of thousands of laws in this state that dictate how schools operate and what we can and can't do. And part of what you find in the educational realm is when boards are put together, they develop board policy. And in board policy, that's another thing I think I encourage people to do, is to read board policies. Very, very interesting things you will see in board policies. And it's those 5 individuals, and as I said, in Lucerne has 3, they have a lot of authority to do quite a bit within those board policies, a lot of leverage. And so it behooves you that when something you don't think is right, to go to board meetings and to find out what those policies state, what they can and can't do, and to really maintain what they should be allowed to do. But under current law and under current policy, it's up to each individual board on whether or not to have benefits.
So this question is for all the candidates, and we'll just start at this end and pass it down. What qualities do you have that you see as being integral to the position you are running for?
I come from a long line of educators. My mom was a teacher for many, many years. My dad was not, but all three of my children are educators, and I encourage them really to be involved. And I think probably one of my finest qualities, being an Italian Irishman, I'm as honest as they come, and I'm just pretty matter of fact. I've had a tendency over my 38 years to get myself into a little bit of hot water for saying probably more than I should say, and especially to board members at times, because I think it's critical that you're open, you're honest, you work hard for students, and least but not last, that you are the most transparent that you can be. More transparent you are, the fewer problems you will have when you run a district or a county office. Thank you.
I forgot to mention earlier that prior to getting into education, I was in the military, and actually I have 21 years of combined service between the U.S. Army and U.S. Army Reserve. Additionally, I put myself through college and worked for several years after college in the construction industry. So I don't just come from an educational background. I come from a background, kind of a blue-collar background, and moved into education later on in my career, specifically focused on teaching students manufacturing, construction, computer-aided drafting when I initially began teaching. But some of the key skills that I possess at this point in time is really my collaborative nature and my ability to work with others. I have an integrity, the collaborative nature, and the community trust to continue to serve as the county superintendent of schools. We have a model of transparency that has existed in the county office at least over the last 3.5 years since I've been county superintendent, and I will continue to lead in that transparent, collaborative, and trustworthy process.
Well, I think my number one quality is that my temperament. I treat people with respect. I listen to people. I listen and I hear what they say, and I invite people to tell me how they're feeling or their input. I work well with people. That's why I have the endorsement from the Deputy District Attorneys Association, the people that I work with. I have high ethical standards, and then I will maintain that as DA. I have the ability, because of my extensive experience in dealing with all types of criminal law, as well as my training in that area, I have the ability to analyze cases to determine what would be an appropriate outcome. And I also am able to mentor the people in the office as to if they have questions about cases, how to handle them. So I have all those qualities and more, but I'm out of time now.
In terms of qualities, I think that I have demonstrated myself to be a hard worker in my entire life. I worked in the pear sheds as a kid in high school, and I would spend my summers, working hard. I've worked hard as an athlete. I wrestled for probably 15 years. I earned a wrestling scholarship. I've wrestled in probably 5 or 6 different countries and many different states, and I've applied that hard work to becoming and practicing as an attorney. I'm a person who sets goals and accomplishes them, and I think that it is I think that there's, the assertion that I'm inexperienced, but I don't think that that's accurate because I haven't been in the DA's office. I think that I have a broad experience, and I think that it is my broader and unique experience that makes me the most qualified candidate. I was appointed by the governor 2 years ago to serve on the Lake County Fair Board. I have experience administering a budget. I have experience developing and drafting government policy, and I have experience in trial and practicing law. And I have earned the respect and the trust, even though I've been on the defense, I've earned the respect and trust of law enforcement, which is why so many of them are supporting me.
Thank you very much, Linda and candidates, and they get another minute and a half. I mean, that almost was a closing statement right there, but you get another minute and a half to throw that what you weren't able to fit in that first minute. So we're just going to reverse order, go back down the line if that's okay. So a minute and a half closing, and then they will be available for individual questions afterwards for a little bit.
Thank you all so much again for coming out. I know that we all appreciate your time and the fact that you're concerned and are presumably going to go vote. That's an important thing. There's so few people that actually vote nowadays. It's kind of amazing. So it's a very important thing to do. I think the registrar of voters told me that there was approximately 65,000 people in Lake County, and in the last DA election, only a little over 13,000 people voted. That's scary. I am running because I have, like I said, I'm born and raised. I'm from Lake County. I have 3 sons. They're 9, 7, and 4, and I care very much about Lake County. I care about its future. And I believe, I am confident in my experience, as are many other people who are familiar with me and familiar with my practice, that I am the person for the job and that you will not be disappointed if on June 5th you vote for me. Thank you.
Well, I'm asking for your vote. I can come in, because of my training and experience in the office, I could come in day one and lead on day one as district attorney. The only thing I need to do is move my office from one to the other. But I have the training, I have the experience, and the experience you can't get anywhere else except as a prosecutor to lead prosecutors. And that's so important, because when you have prosecutors who have more experience in the office than my opponent, how is he going to be able to tell them how to handle a case, how to dispose a case? Again, the bread and butter of prosecutors are trial, and knowing when to go to trial and when not to go to trial and when to get a disposition. I have that training and knowledge. I can lead people. I have the temperament to lead people in the office. I listen, but then when I make a decision, I make a decision. But it's based on experience and my training. I've been a public servant pretty much all my career, over 25 years in Lake County, and then in the military. So I've served the U.S., and I want to serve Lake County as your DA. I have been serving Lake County for 25 years, and I want to continue that as DA. I have some ideas for example, establishing a mental health court in Lake County with the help of the courts. I have ideas that I want to implement. Thank you.
As I said at the beginning of this, I don't believe that I am done serving in my role as County Superintendent of Schools. I will move forward and continue to invest in the community and invest in quality, qualified, certificated teachers in front of all of our classrooms. And we are doing that through what I call a project of Teach Lake County, where we are training new teachers to serve in our classrooms. I will continue to support a comprehensive, uniform school safety response initiative throughout the county. I'll continue to focus on what we call kindergartner school readiness. We are engaged heavily with that 0 to 5 population, the child care and preschool population, and we'll continue to focus to make sure our kids are entering school ready for school. We'll continue to focus on improving our graduation rates. Particularly, we're focused right now on that Tribal Youth Task Force and making sure that our tribal youth are graduating school at the same rate as the rest of our general population. And I will continue to advocate as one of my priorities for sustained, ongoing funding for career technical education to assure that we're meeting the needs of all students in Lake County, not just those that are going on to college. Additionally, I think we need to continue to push for matriculation into post-secondary options. And again, that does not necessarily mean just college, but it means more kids going to college, more kids going on and receiving advanced education and certificates. I would appreciate your support, and please go out and vote.
First, I'd like to start off by saying thank you for attending. I do appreciate your time. As I stated at the beginning, I've spent 38 years in education. and I'm very proud of my accomplishments over time. And one of the greatest things, even as crazy as it sounds, that I'm most proud of is in my 38 years, I never took one day of sick leave. So I actually retired in June of this past year and had over 400 days of accumulated sick time. And what I really focus on is being there to support students. And students are just not your K-12 students. When you look at the unemployment rate in Lake County, when you look at the adults that are struggling, very few districts have adult ed programs that really support adult learning and provide them opportunities to be employable. And the one thing that you talked about earlier about money in districts and how we spend it, I had an opportunity. I have a dear friend of mine who is a PERS and STIRS lawyer, and I had a conversation with him the other day. And my starting salary as a Lake County superintendent is about $140-some thousand a year. I don't need $140-some thousand a year. I'm very comfortable in retirement. So I have a plan to only get paid the STIRS amount cap of $43,000 a year. And I'll donate the rest of that back to the county office to really support programs for kids, because that's what kids need. They need more than just the educational programs. Education's critical, but even as Brock said, vocational ed is dying in this state, and we need to bring it back. We need the trades, and we need people to be employable. So please come out and vote on June 5th. Thank you for your time.
I would like to thank Steve Brown, Susan Krones, Brock Falkenberg, and Pat Iaccino for coming down and having time with us today. And I want to thank you all for coming today. I also want to thank the Lake County Fire Sirens for serving us today. Yep. And all the work they do too. Kitchen, great job once again in the kitchen. Food is always so good here. You're in for a treat, those of you who get to stay for lunch. And thanks again. Yes, go out and vote on June 5th.
Since 1929, our third Wednesday of the month, Middletown Luncheon Club provides great food, quality community gathering, and interesting local speakers. Come join us.